She had just turned 74 when she leaned in close and whispered, "I thought retirement would feel like freedom. But instead, I feel trapped." It wasn't the freedom she imagined after decades of hard work. Instead, it was loneliness, regret, and a quiet sense that life was slipping away faster than she wanted. Maybe you've felt that too, like retirement was supposed to be the reward, the peaceful chapter, but it turned into something else entirely. Or perhaps you know someone who struggles with this feeling, the confusion of having time but not knowing how to fill it, or the ache of missed opportunities catching up. It's more common than you think. Have you ever caught yourself wishing things were different after retirement? Maybe that feeling is sitting just under the surface right now. If so, you're not alone. Do you know someone who felt this way too? Let us know in the comments. This is Blythe. She spent 40 years as a school librarian, quietly organizing knowledge for generations of children, helping them discover new worlds through books, guiding curious minds, and creating a safe space where stories came alive. To everyone around her, Blythe seemed calm, composed, and content. But beneath that gentle exterior, no one prepared her for the unexpected challenges she would face after retirement, challenges she never saw coming and regrets that quietly settled in her heart during those golden years. You see, Blythe had a vision of retirement filled with peace and joy, days spent reading, gardening, and reconnecting with old friends. But instead, she found herself wrestling with feelings she didn't expect, loneliness, missed chances, and a deep longing for things she'd put off for too long. And she isn't alone. If you're nearing retirement or already living it, there are 5 regrets no one talks about, but once they hit hard. These regrets don't just cause sadness, they chip away at your peace of mind and your ability to enjoy the life you've worked so hard for. That's why it's so important to recognize these regrets early, before they become a permanent shadow over your later years. We're going to walk through each one, what it looks like, why it happens, and most importantly, how you can protect your peace today. Because your retirement should be about freedom, joy, and the chance to finally live on your own terms. Not about wondering what could have been. Before we dive in, if you're finding this video helpful so far, please hit that like button, it really helps us reach more people who need to hear this message. And if you're enjoying the video, drop a love in the comments below. Your support means the world to us, and it encourages us to keep sharing advice that makes a real difference in your life. Now, let's uncover these 5 retirement regrets together, and take the first step toward protecting your peace, your happiness, and your future. Regret number 1, waiting too long to reconnect. Blythe had a habit, one that creeps into so many of our lives without making a sound. She kept telling herself she'd call her sister next week. Her sister, Maylene, had moved to Arizona over a decade ago. They used to talk all the time, about recipes, old neighbors, the silly things their grandkids said. But then life got busy, or so Blythe told herself. One week bled into the next. There was always laundry to fold, errands to run, meetings at the church, and holidays to plan for. Maylene would understand, she figured. There was time. But time doesn't always wait. By the time Blythe finally picked up the phone, it was because she'd gotten the call first. Maylene had suffered a mild stroke. She would recover, thankfully, but things weren't the same. When they spoke, the words came slower. The rhythm was gone. There were long pauses where there used to be laughter. And the silence was heavy, with missed birthdays, untold stories, and too many could-have-beens. That's when it hit Blythe. All the weeks she thought were too busy were actually opportunities to love. Opportunities to connect. Opportunities that would never come back. This is the regret of waiting too long to reconnect. And it haunts more people than you might imagine. It starts quietly. Maybe you put off calling an old friend because you don't know what to say after all these years. Or you scroll past your cousin's photo and think, I'll message her later. But days turn into weeks. Weeks become years. And one day, the chance to reach out becomes a memory you wish you had made. For retirees, especially, this regret can cut deep. Because in retirement, there's finally time, but we often underestimate just how fleeting and fragile that time really is. So let's shift this narrative, today. Have you been meaning to reconnect with someone? Maybe an old friend you used to laugh with. A sibling you haven't spoken to since that last disagreement. A neighbor who used to bring you soup when you were sick. Whoever it is, they matter. And so does your peace. Type their first name in the comments. It might be the gentle nudge someone else needs to do the same. And here's a simple step you can take that Blythe wishes she had done sooner. Create a reconnection day. Choose one day each week. Set a reminder. Every Thursday, or every Sunday afternoon, whenever you feel most grounded. On that day, reach out to one person. It doesn't have to be a long phone call. It could be a short voice note, a postcard, even a shared photo or memory. Just something that says, "I'm thinking of you. You still matter to me." These small touches begin to stitch the fabric of connection back together. They restore warmth where silence once lingered. They remind us, and them, that it's never too late to begin again. After Maylene's stroke, Blythe started making those weekly calls. At first, it was difficult. There were pauses. There were emotions. But over time, the words came easier. They started sending poems and old photos. They laughed again, sometimes even through tears. And while it didn't erase the years of silence, it brought healing in the present. Because reconnection doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be honest. So think of that person. The one who popped into your mind just now. Pick up the phone. Write the card. Send the message. Don't let next week rob you of what could still be shared. Your heart deserves peace. And peace begins with people. Regret number 2, giving away too much yes. At 71, Blythe wasn't tired because of work, she had long retired from the school library, but because she was saying yes to everything and everyone. At first, it felt good to be needed. She volunteered for neighborhood committees, helped organize local charity events, and even found herself cooking meals for friends more often than she wanted. But slowly, exhaustion crept in, not just physical fatigue, but a deep emotional drain that left her feeling overwhelmed and, surprisingly, resentful. You see, Blythe's yes wasn't always a true yes. Often, it was a yes born out of guilt, the feeling that if she said no, she'd be disappointing others or seeming unkind. Maybe it's familiar to you too, the pressure to help, to stay involved, to be the person everyone counts on. It feels generous, but beneath that generosity is a hidden cost. The cost of boundaries not set and self-care ignored. This kind of regret, giving away too many yeses, is one of the quietest but most damaging regrets in retirement. Because it disguises itself as kindness. You want to be helpful, but each yes chips away at your peace, your energy, and your joy. Soon enough, you realize that you're doing more for others than for yourself, and bitterness starts to creep in. Have you ever said yes when your gut screamed no? When you wanted to rest but felt obligated to say yes? Be honest with yourself, many of us have been there. It's not selfish to say no, it's necessary. Here's the good news, you can say no with love and kindness, and still be the caring person you want to be. One way Blythe reclaimed her peace was by setting a simple but powerful rule for herself, a limit of 3 yeses per week for favors, commitments, and volunteering. That's it. 3 times she would say yes, and the rest of the time, she honored her own needs without guilt. This small boundary changed everything. It created space for rest, hobbies, and moments of quiet that had been missing for years. It gave her energy back, and most importantly, it restored the joy that had been lost beneath exhaustion. Your peace is priceless, and boundaries are the guardrails that protect it. If this sounds familiar, try setting your own limit. Start small, maybe 1 yes less this week. Notice how it feels. You might find, like Blythe did, that people respect your honesty, and your relationships actually deepen when you're clear about your needs. Now, pause for a moment. Have you ever said yes when you really wanted to say no? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Generosity without boundaries isn't sustainable. Protect your peace by learning to say no with love. Your happiness depends on it. Regret number 3, not taking care of their body until it was too late. Blythe never expected it to happen so quickly. One morning, she stood up from her reading chair and nearly lost her balance. Her knees ached. Her hips felt stiff. The stairs she once climbed with ease now made her pause halfway, catching her breath. It's just aging, she told herself. This is normal. But what Blythe didn't realize was that it wasn't just aging, it was the slow loss of physical independence, and it had crept in without warning. What she thought were harmless signs of getting older were actually years of missed opportunities to protect her strength and mobility. This is one of the most heartbreaking regrets many people face in their 70s and beyond, realizing too late that their body didn't betray them, they just stopped taking care of it. Not out of laziness, but out of assumption. They assumed they were too old to exercise, Too stiff to stretch, too tired to start something new. And by the time they realized how vital daily movement was, things had already slipped too far. Independence doesn't vanish overnight. It fades slowly. One skipped walk becomes two. One stiff joint turns into a limp. And suddenly, the body that once carried you effortlessly begins to resist. Have you noticed something similar in your own life? Maybe you've felt yourself slowing down more than usual. Maybe your balance isn't what it used to be, or your knees whisper reminders when you get out of bed. If that's you, even in the smallest way, this is your sign to take action now. Because here's the truth, just 10 minutes of daily movement can change everything. You don't need a gym membership or fancy routines. Start simple. While your kettle boils in the morning, do a gentle stretch. March in place during a commercial break. Take a slow walk after lunch. These little rituals, done consistently, buy you time, energy, and freedom. Blythe eventually discovered this too. After her doctor gently warned her about her declining balance, she started a morning stretching routine by her window. Nothing fancy, just her tea, and a few mindful movements. After a month, she felt steadier. She stopped avoiding the stairs. And most importantly, she began to trust her body again. That trust is everything. Because your body is more than a vessel, it's your ticket to independence, your freedom to move through the world on your terms. So here's a question for you. What's your favorite way to move your body these days? Even if it's just a stroll around the garden, or stretching while the radio plays, we want to hear it. Drop your answer in the comments and inspire someone else to get moving today. Your body deserves care, not just when it breaks down, but while it still has the power to carry you forward. Choose movement now, so you don't have to choose between freedom and dependence later. Regret number 4, cluttered home, cluttered mind. Boxes. Photos. Receipts from decades ago. Cookbooks with yellowed pages. Blythe's home wasn't what you'd call messy, but it was full. Every surface, every shelf, every corner carried the weight of memories. From old sweaters in the back of the closet to drawers filled with cables no one could match to a device, she was surrounded. Yet, for all that fullness, she felt empty. At first, it didn't seem like a problem. After all, we all collect things. But the clutter in Blythe's home wasn't just a matter of objects, it was a reflection of something deeper. Each item told a story. A pair of baby shoes she couldn't throw out. Dozens of mugs from her late husband's travels. Boxes of old letters, some opened, some still sealed. And every time she tried to part with something, her heart would tighten. She'd whisper to herself, what if I need this one day? What if the kids want this after I'm gone? What if I throw away a memory I'll never get back? And so the pile stayed. The closets filled. The basement overflowed. But the quiet truth was this, Blythe wasn't keeping items, she was holding on to her past. Because no one ever taught her how to let go without feeling like she was losing part of herself. The wake-up moment came on a rainy Tuesday. Blythe was walking through her hallway and tripped on a box she'd meant to move for weeks. Nothing serious, just a stumble. But when the box fell open, its contents spilled across the floor, concert programs, faded birthday cards, and, tucked between them, a note from her late husband. She hadn't seen it in years. The sight of his handwriting brought tears instantly. She sat on the floor for over an hour, crying, remembering, grieving. That's when she realized, it wasn't just the physical clutter causing stress, it was the emotional burden of everything left unresolved. This is a common but rarely discussed regret many seniors carry, not decluttering when they still had the time, energy, and clarity to do it with love and purpose. The longer we keep everything, the heavier it becomes, not just for us, but for those who may someday have to make those choices for us. Clutter isn't always laziness. It's often unprocessed emotion, grief, guilt, nostalgia, or fear of forgetting. And it builds until our homes feel more like museums of our past than sanctuaries for our present. So what can you do? Start small. Blythe decided to let go of just one item a day. That was it. One item. Not for minimalism, not to impress anyone, just to clear space in her heart and home. Some days, it was an old pot she hadn't used in years. Other days, it was harder, like giving away her mother's shawl she hadn't worn but couldn't seem to part with. Over time, the process became healing. Her mindset shifted. She wasn't throwing things away, she was creating space. Space for clarity. for peace, for joy in the now. And eventually, she made a little corner by the window with a small table and chair. A space just for her tea, a vase of flowers, and a journal. That clean space became her daily reminder: less stuff, more peace. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing freedom over burden. And freedom is a gift worth giving to yourself, at any age. So let me ask you, what's one thing you've been holding on to that you no longer need? A dish, a photo, a pair of shoes? Type it in the comments. Your honesty might inspire someone else to take that first step too. You deserve a home, and a mind that feels open, light, and ready for what's next. Release the weight. Reclaim your space. Start with one small goodbye today. Regret number 5, ignoring their inner voice. There was a drawer in Blythe's bedroom she rarely opened. It wasn't locked or hidden, it simply carried weight. Inside was a weathered leather journal, its corners curled, its pages filled with decades of private poems. Some were scribbled on napkins, others jotted down in quiet hours between life's obligations. For over 40 years, Blythe wrote down pieces of herself in those pages: grief, love, wonder, anger, memories from her childhood, observations from her garden. "I'll turn these into a book one day," she used to say. But somehow, one day always slipped further away. She was always busy with something else. A neighbor who needed a hand. A grandchild's recital. Appointments. Dishes. Laundry. And sometimes, the deeper truth, fear. Fear that her poems weren't good enough. That no one would care. That putting them into the world would make her feel more exposed than fulfilled. So she left them in the drawer. For years. And then, life changed. A stroke. It didn't take her life, but it took something else: her rhythm. Her voice. The ease with which she once crafted language was now halting, hesitant. Her right hand no longer moved with the same grace. And when she tried to read her old lines aloud, she couldn't get through them without stumbling. That was when the regret settled in. Not the sharp regret of a mistake made in haste, but the aching kind. The kind that creeps in slowly when you realize the thing you were born to do never got done. The kind that whispers, "You didn't honor your voice when you had the chance." This is one of the most painful regrets that surfaces in later years: ignoring your inner voice. That creative instinct. That spiritual itch. That calling. It might be art. Or music. Or storytelling. Or a business idea. Or a garden never planted. A language never learned. A letter never written. And often, it's not because we didn't want to pursue it. It's because we convinced ourselves there'd always be more time. That we weren't ready yet. That someone else could say it better. Or that dreams don't belong to people our age. But here's what Blythe learned, and what she wants you to know: you don't have to be ready. You just have to begin. After her stroke, Blythe started again. It wasn't pretty. Her handwriting was shaky. The poems were simpler now. She forgot words mid-sentence. But she kept writing, one poem a week. She read them aloud, even if her voice cracked. She gave a few to her daughter, who cried when she read them. And for the first time, Blythe felt something new, not pride, exactly, but peace. Because she was finally honoring the voice that had waited in that drawer all along. So let this be your permission slip: start ugly. Start slow. But start. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for a sign or an audience. The very act of doing it is the point. Write the first page. Hum the first note. Plant the first seed. Say the first line. Try. Because your story, your dream, your art, it matters. Even if it's just for you. Especially if it's just for you. Is there something you've always wanted to start but never did? Drop it in the comments. Say it out loud. Make it real. You never know who else you might inspire to begin. You don't need perfection. You just need to listen to you. Because the world doesn't just need more art. It needs your voice. Still beating. Still burning. Still yours. At 77, something inside Blythe finally shifted. It wasn't dramatic. There was no big speech, no audience clapping, no grand transformation under the spotlight. It happened quietly, one morning, as she stood in the hallway, holding her old leather journal with both hands. She had spent years avoiding it. years convincing herself she had waited too long. That her time had passed. That she had missed the boat on becoming someone or doing something that mattered just for her. But that morning was different. The sun poured in just right. A robin landed outside her window. And in that still moment, Blythe whispered something she hadn't allowed herself to say in decades. "I forgive me." She forgave herself for the years she put everyone else first. For the calls she didn't make. For the dreams she buried under laundry piles and polite smiles. For the silence she mistook as safety. And then, she opened the journal. Her hands trembled. The pen felt foreign at first. The lines were shaky. The rhymes didn't come. But she wrote anyway. Not for praise. Not for anyone else. Just to let her own voice breathe again. That single act, writing one imperfect poem, became the start of everything new. She began letting go of things she thought defined her, the guilt over friendships that faded. The pressure to always be nice. The shame of feeling regret. Even the clutter in her home, piece by piece, began to find its way to donation bins and recycling bags, not because she was purging, but because she was making space. For herself. For joy. For what mattered now. This was Blythe's turning point. Not a change in age, but a change in mindset. She realized that healing doesn't mean rewriting the past, it means making peace with it, and then choosing to live differently now. So many people in their 70s, 80s, even 90s believe they're too far gone to start again. That the best chapters are behind them. That if they haven't done it yet, whatever it is, then it's too late. But Blythe is proof that you don't need a perfect body, a blank slate, or someone's permission to begin. You just need a decision. A decision to start from where you are, with what you have, even if your hands shake and your voice cracks. And if this moment feels like your moment, claim it. You don't need applause. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. What's one thing you're ready to forgive yourself for? What's one quiet dream you're ready to say yes to? Share it in the comments. Not because you owe anyone an answer, but because writing it down might be the very first line of your next chapter. Because like Blythe discovered, it's not too late. It's never too late. Not for peace. Not for purpose. And never for you. Retirement doesn't come with a manual. No one hands you a guidebook the day you step away from your job, no checklist for fulfillment, no map for what your days will look like now. And that's where so many people stumble, not from lack of time, but from not knowing what truly matters until it's almost too late. Blythe's story isn't rare, it's a mirror. A reflection of quiet choices, postponed dreams, and moments we think we'll always have. Until we don't. The 5 regrets she faced: putting off reconnection, giving too many yeses, neglecting her body, living among clutter, and silencing her voice, aren't just her personal story. They are common warning signs, whispered gently through the experiences of those who've lived long enough to look back with clarity. But here's the truth: regret doesn't have to be part of your story. Every single one of these moments is reversible, if you choose differently now. You don't need to make massive changes overnight. Start small, call the person you've been missing. Say no to something that drains you. Take a short walk after dinner. Let go of one object that weighs you down. Write one sentence that's just for you. Because these aren't just regrets, they're gentle nudges from the future. They're guideposts, meant to protect your peace, guard your joy, and remind you that even now, you are allowed to choose better. Which of these 5 regrets hit you the hardest? Was it one you felt before? Or one you're ready to avoid now? Tell us in the comments. You never know who might be moved by your story. If this video stirred something in you, tap that like button. It helps more people find messages like this, messages that heal, guide, and give hope. And don't forget to subscribe to Healthy Aging Advice for Elderly. This channel isn't just about aging, it's about thriving, with honesty, purpose, and peace. Because your next chapter deserves more than silence or sorrow. It deserves freedom, clarity, joy. And it all begins by protecting your peace, starting today.